Good day and welcome to the Aurobindo Pharma Q1 FY22 earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. If you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Arvind Bothra, Investor Relations. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning and a warm welcome to our first quarter FY22 earnings call. I am Arvind Bothra from the Investor Relations team, Aurobindo Pharma Limited. We hope you have received the Q1 FY22 financials and the press release that we sent out yesterday. The same is also available on our website. With me, we have our senior management team represented by Mr. P.V. Ramprasad Reddy, Chairman, Aurobindo Pharma USA, Mr. N. Govindarajan, Managing Director, Aurobindo Pharma Limited, Mr. Sanjeev Dani, COO and Head Formulations, Mr. Santhanam Subramanian, CFO, and Mr. Swami Iyer, CFO, Aurobindo Pharma USA. We will begin the call with summary highlights from the management, followed by an interactive Q&A session. Please note that some of the matters we discuss today are forward-looking, including and without limitation statements relating to the implementation of strategic actions and other affirmations on our future business development and commercial performance. While these forward-looking statements exemplify our judgment and future expectations concerning the development of our business, a number of risks, uncertainties and other factors may cause actual development and results to differ from our expectations. Aurobindo Pharma undertakes no obligation to publicly revise any forward-looking statements to reflect future events or circumstances. And with that, I will hand over the call to Mr. Santhanam Subramanian for the Q1 FY22 highlights. Over to you, Subbu.
Thank you, Arvind. Good morning, everyone. I hope that all of you and your families are safe. So while the fight against COVID-19 is ongoing, at Aurobindo, we are committed to ensure the safety of our employees and to ensure business continuity is maintained. However, Q1 FY22 witnessed an increase in overall cases, which resulted in partial lockdown in various parts of the globe and affected the path to normalization. The quarter performance
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay connected. The line of the management got disconnected.
Please enter the number of the person you are calling. To access your mailbox, press pound.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for patiently holding the line. The line of the management is reconnected. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Can I start?
Please go ahead. Yes.
So we will now discuss the results for the first quarter of the fiscal year FY22 declared by the company. Please note that we will be discussing ex-Natrol numbers throughout the call. For Q1, the company registered a revenue of 5,702 crores, an increase of 2.9% over last year. The EBITDA before forex and other income improved by 5.6% year-on-year to 1,209 crores. EBITDA margin for the quarter was 21.2%, an improvement of 50 basis over the corresponding previous period. The margins improved on a year-on-year basis despite lack of export incentive benefits as well as continued ramp up in R&D spend during this quarter. This is accounting to almost 180 crores. The net profit increased by 8.9% year-on-year to rupees 770 crores. In terms of the business breakdown, Formulation business in Q1 FY22 witnessed a growth of 2.7% year-on-year to 4,890 crores and contributed around 85.8% of the total revenue. API business contributed around 14.2% and clocked a revenue of rupees 812 crores for the year. For the quarter, the revenue from the US market declined by 1.5% year-on-year to rupees 2,681 crores. On a constant currency basis, US revenue marginally increased by 1% year-on-year to $364 million. We have received the final approval for 4 orders and launched 5 products in the quarter under revenue. We have filed 8 ANDAs, including 2 injectables during the quarter. Revenue of Aurobindo Pharma USA, the company making the oral products in USA, has decreased by 9% year-on-year for the quarter in US terms. Revenue for Auromedics, the injectable business, increased by 22% year-on-year to $62 million for the quarter, and we hope to see continued growth as hospital footfalls improve. We have filed a total of 150 injectable ANDAs as on 30th June 21, out of which 98 which have received the final approval, and the balance 52 are under review. The company on 30th June 21 has filed 654 ANDAs on cumulative basis, out of which 451 has the final approval and 59 having tentative approvals, including 8 ANDAs which are tentatively approved under the PET4 and the balance 174 ANDAs under review. For the quarter, Europe formulation revenue clocked at 1,583 crores in an increase of 19.7% year-on-year growth. For the quarter, gross market witnessed a growth of 13.7% to rupees 329 crores. The quarter performance was led by strong growth in Brazil and South African business. For the quarter, ARV business stood at 296 crores, degrowth of 30.3% year-on-year on a high base of last year. R&D expenditure is at 358 crores during the quarter, which is 6.3% of the revenue. Net organic capital during the quarter is around $64 million. The average forex rate was 73.67 in June 21 and rupees 72.87 in March 21. Net cash including investments at the end of June 21 was $1.5 million. The average finance cost is 1.1, mainly due to having multiple currency loans. This is all from our end, and we are happy to take your questions now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, please press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Anubhav Agarwal from Credit Suisse. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Good morning to all. First question, you mentioned in the presentation you bought certain ANDAs and OTC brands. How many you bought and which areas they are in? Can you give more details on this?
Hello.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question, Anubhav?
Yeah. I was asking that you mentioned about acquiring certain ANDAs and the brands. Can you talk about how many ANDAs and brands you bought in and what's their revenue contribution and some more details of the areas they are present in?
Sure. Swami?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Anubhav. During this quarter, we had purchased about 9 currently marketed OTC brands and 6 ANDAs. As we had articulated in the past on capital allocation, we look at opportunities that are cost beneficial and then or to market a for to market or for product portfolio expansion. No?
Continue.
Are you able to hear me?
Continue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Typically, we evaluate medium-sized opportunities that can complement our portfolio. And these 9 currently marketed OTC brands are available for revenue. And we expect about 30 to 35 million in the first 12 months, and we expect to grow these brands.
So that's about the OTC brand. So was there any contribution from them in this quarter, or they came only in the end of the quarter?
So this we got in the middle of the quarter, literally, and during the transition period, we did not have much contribution in the quarter. But going forward, we expect some contribution on that.
And what about the ANDAs, 6 ANDAs, which areas they are in, and can you give some more details about this?
So there are actually 6 ANDAs, and these some are ready for marketing, and they are currently marketed. And one more ANDA will be launching in due course. These ANDAs we anticipate close around 30 million annually on these ANDAs.
Okay, thank you. And the second question was on the Cronus acquisition. So can you talk about how many products can be commercialized in next 1 year and the second year from the already 6 approved products and the 22 which they have filed?
Yeah, Anubhav, I'll take this opportunity to talk about the Cronus and give you a total overview for the benefit of the to the investors and analysts, right? See, the Cronus company has formed in 2015-16, and it has been going on. And there's another company by name Cronus LLC also there in US. We have subsidized the US company as on 1st July 21 to make it a 100% subsidiary, right? So the numbers reflected in the press release are reflecting only the statutory numbers. However, if you take the pro forma financials of both the companies, last year the combined entity on a pro forma basis achieved more than 13 million turnover. And this year already in the first half of the year, it has achieved more than 6.5 million, and they are pretty confident this will exceed the last year number during this year. And if you really go into the, if you really get into the overview of that, this company is located in Hyderabad on a 10-acre land, which is a SEZ unit, and the plant is constructed on 2.25 lakh square feet. And they are working on multiple business segments. One is the orals, and second injectables. Third is cephalosporin injectables and CMOs, etc. Totally, they have already working. Total products as on date is around 67 products. Out of that, if you say, I mean, in pipeline, if you say injectables, it is around 40, and other non-injectables is around balance 27. And they completed the exhibit batches pertaining to 32 products, more than 32 products, and filing has been completed for 22 products, and they got approved under to the tune of 6 numbers. And this the unit is also having a very good R&D facility, etc. And to some extent, Aurobindo also supplying some APIs and etc. We see a lot of good financial. I mean, going forward, we see a lot of synergies, etc. in this company. And the company has been already invested to the tune of more than $45 million by way of plant and machinery purchase, I mean, intangibles and the development, etc. And more than, around $50 million. Already they have infused it. And we are doing only a primary infusion into the company, thereby increasing our stake to 51%. And we will be having the management control. And we see a lot of growth coming in down the line 3-4 years. And even though we are not giving guidance or etc., I mean, personally, not Aurobindo's view, it can be another big, another company like Natral down the line 4-5 years. Any more questions?
Yeah, just one clarity. So after your infusion, what? So the $50 million is now what number after the infusion?
No, that $50 million, the cash is getting into the system, so it becomes more than $100 million. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
But can you also talk about how many products? Like say out of the 6 products, when do we see them being launched in the market?
Yeah, this 6 products, which are all mostly CMOs, and they have been working with multiple guys, and the inspection should have taken place, US inspection, as on March 2020, and because of the COVID, it got deferred, and they are expecting the inspection to take place somewhere by end of this year or early next year. And at that time, the products which have been filed, I mean, as on date is around 22, which will be taken up, and the management is pretty confident going forward, things will look very good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Damayanti Kedia from HSBC Securities and Capital Markets. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is again on Cronus. So, what is the key rationale that we have looked into animal health business? We used to understand we are very well placed in terms of growth drivers on the pharma side, where we are working on multiple future drivers. So, what has really prompted to look you at the animal health business? Like, what kind of business attractiveness or long-term, I'll say, positive which you have seen for the business?
So, if you really look at the animal health market, it is the dollars are more than $10 billion, and the products which these 67 products will amount, the accessible market will be around $2 billion. And as Govind has been mentioning in the past, we have different business segments run by different senior people, and they will be growing the company in their own way. I mean, it is not that the entire thing is looked at from the top alone. So this helps to increase our revenue share in US market going forward. And there are also mostly in the injectables, 40 products in injectables out of the 67, which also will help us to have a firm standing going forward in the animal health portfolio.
Okay, and sir, I just missed pro forma revenues. You mentioned how much?
In pro forma financial, the turnover for last year is more than $12 million, and this year management is pretty confident they will exceed it. In the first half year, they have already achieved $6.3 or $6.4 million.
Okay.
This is only with the 6 products, outsourcing products. The real manufacturing, the inspection has to take place, and all the 67 minus 61 products have to come into play, which is not there as on date. Down the line by 23, I would say, April 23 onwards, anytime, the entire manufacturing will start contributing.
Okay. My second question is on, what is update on the COVID vaccine front? Last call you mentioned we will be starting some stockpiling manufacturing in July. Just if you can update on the COVID vaccine front, please.
Just to recap what we had mentioned in the last call, we had said that the clinical trial was yet to start, and the clinical trial is being initiated by Vaxxinity, which used to be called as COVAX, and they got. We mentioned that we see an opportunity in terms of doing contract manufacturing based on their Taiwan approval, and they've already placed orders for 30 million doses. I think that they would pick up based on the approval of Taiwan, which is expected in the next few weeks to a month or so. So based on that contract manufacturing will pick up.
And sir, what is the progress on clinical trial front?
I'm sorry, what is it?
On the clinical studies which are ongoing for the vaccine, what is the current status?
Clinical trial for PCV is already phase 3 has started, and as far as the COVAX or rather vaccinative vaccine is concerned, I think they are yet to start their phase 2/3. That I think they've already going ahead have appointed certain CROs as well. They should initiate it in the next few weeks.
Okay, sir. I'll get back in the queue. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ritesh Rathod from Nippon India Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone. Can you help us understand the history of Cronus Pharma in terms of how they have grown? Have they done any acquisition? Who are the owners of this Cronus Pharma, and is it a related party transaction?
Yeah. So this has started in 2015, and they have been putting a plant, and that plant has been constructed near Shamshabad Airport, which is a SEZ zone, and we have personally seen the plant also, and it's a very good plant actually, and it's a SEZ zone, and they were about to get the US inspection last year, March 20. Somehow it has not happened due to COVID, and this year it is happening, and this has been the US business has been done as a selling and distribution arm, and which has been merged with this company. I mean, made as a subsidiary company, and this is the thing. And we have also gone through the prescribed SEBI guidelines, etc., etc. This is not a related party, right? However, what we have done is we have taken the precaution to ensure the entire transaction is at arm's length, and we have consulted the legal fraternity, everybody.
And are the 66 filings which they have under development, were they organically developed, or there were some acquisitions they had done in past for them to reach to?
Out of 67, as I said, 6 have been bought, and it has been they have been using the outsourcing to do that. The real 61 products which have been organically developed, and they are waiting for the inspection. I'm repeating, they are waiting for the inspection, and out of that, 40 is injectables.
And for the second, for the $107 million OTC brands and the ANDAs which you have acquired, as well as this one, would you need a shareholder approval?
We have consulted, because these are all different transactions, and these are all only ANDAs, right? It is within the within the limit which has been prescribed. And our secretary as well as we have consulted the expert, and it is not required any shareholder approval.
And even for the this Cronus Pharma, you won't require shareholder approval?
It is not required.
Okay, thank you. That's from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shyam Srinivasan from Goldman Sachs. Please go ahead.
Shyam, you're there?
I don't think we.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Go ahead, Shyam.
Yeah. So I was asking about the global injectable sales. If I look at it, what was the number for the quarter? And if you can also share us, given the kind of we have moved things, we are trying to subsidize and make a UGA kind of this one structure. So can you help us understand where the overall revenues are? I know you have given a guidance in the past, but just to understand on the profitability front as well, can you help us understand that, please?
Yeah, the global injectable number is around 102 million. I mean, we'll ensure that next quarter we are ensuring it is there. And second is we have taken the approvals, and we have informed the stock exchanges and the investor community that we are going to subsidize that, and we have already taken necessary action. We have taken the one set of approvals, regulatory approvals, and the second set of regulatory approvals will happen. Hopefully everything goes well. By 31st August, we will try to complete it.
Subbu sir, anything on the profitability, anything that you can share?
Anything? I don't understand. Please, can you?
What is the profit margins for the global injectables? Is there something that you are sharing at this point of time? How should we look at that business?
See, we are not giving the injectable margin number, and however, we are not inferior to any of the competition or anybody, right? We are not giving any specific numbers.
So, Shyam, to answer you, the long term, whatever we have projected last quarter, we are still, that growth story is still intact.
Okay, so Govind, that was like a $650-700 million target for global injectables, correct?
Yes, sir. That story is still intact, and that is what is our goal, and that's what we are working towards. These quarter-to-quarter differences may not matter. Like I think we are still confident about achieving that goal, Shyam.
Got it. Second question is on the US oral solids, and look at the US performance as well, QOQ decline. So we are comparing like for like with 4Q. I'm not doing it with 1Q. So how are you seeing the scene there in terms of pricing environment, new launch momentum? If you can help us understand.
Swami?
Okay, yeah, I can take this question. Yeah, thanks, Shyam. So we had slightly tepid growth during the Q1 of current year. We saw some price erosion during the quarter, and primarily due to buildup of inventory across supply chain, across suppliers, due to decreased demand. So price erosion was in, I would say, upper single digit percentage-wise, which is higher than normal. We cannot estimate the duration at this point precisely, but we believe the negative impact could be offset with higher volumes and new launches for this year. As you may know, we are today the largest supplier by volume, and we plan to keep increasing this as we have a large portfolio.
Yes, Swami, just any launches you would like to call out for the remainder of the year, or are we sticking to the 30 plus launches, 40 plus launches for the full year?
Yes, we would be 30-40 launches. Yeah, 30. I would say about 30 plus launches in a year.
Got it. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kunal Randeria from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Good morning, and thanks for the opportunity. So just one clarification. Was the management of Cronus, or let's say the Cronus founder, associated with Aurobindo Pharma in the past?
Okay, and so can you repeat the question so that we are clear about what we are answering?
Yeah. So was the founder of Cronus Pharma associated with Aurobindo Pharma, maybe a director in one of the subsidiaries, or?
So we have dealt with him in the past, because in the past there are transactions we have done, and even today we continue to do transactions with him on other entities. Does that answer your query?
It does. So, but as of now, he's not a part of Aurobindo Pharma, right?
He has never been part of Aurobindo Pharma at all.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that answers my question. Sorry? Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give us a moment. The line of the management got disconnected. Ladies and gentlemen, we are really sorry for the instance which happened. We have the management which is connected. Thank you, and over to you.
We sincerely apologize for this call here. I mean, I think the quality of the call was really pathetic. We are really sorry about that. Can you connect the gentleman who was asking the question, madam?
The person is in the line, sir. Mr. Kunal.
Did you get your answer? Did you get your
Yes, yeah. Yes, I did that. Thank you. And just one more question. You're developing 5 biosimilars. So can you share some timelines? Because I think you have revealed that you may be filing sometime this year. So what are the timelines, please?
So you want to take or you want me to take? Okay. Let me answer that. As far as the first 2 products are concerned, we had clearly mentioned that those 2 products with an extended phase 1 would get filed during this financial year. And 7 months is a typical timeline when you would expect an approval, because these are defined timelines as far as the first 2 products as far as Europe is concerned. There is one more product and which will get ready, which will get filed by next year, financial year. And you can expect every year one product getting added to the portfolio. 1 to 2 products, depending on the length of the trial, it would get added. So as far as Europe is concerned, whenever the filing happens in 210 days, you can expect the approval. As far as US is concerned, depending on is it the first set of products or already reviewed products, the timeline would be defined. You can take it as an approximately 18 months as the timeline, 12 to 18 months as the timeline for approval in the US, depending on the complexity of the product. Does it answer your query, sir?
Yes, sir. Just one more clarification on this. So the first US approval, US filing would be after the European filing, correct?
No, before March we are filing 1 product. No, 2 products we are filing before March, and in Europe and UK, first product we are filing next month. This is what, and subsequent year we can 22-23 we are expecting to file in US 2 products. That is the thing.
Sure. And do you expect the R&D to go up now?
No, maybe or may not. No, it was Subbu, can you answer?
Yeah. See, we are already at 6%. Probably with the turnover going up, the denominator will go up. So probably we may be 5 to 6, but depending upon how we see it, right? It depends upon many factors. While we are very clear about we are going to do the clinical trials, etc. How to optimize it, we are working on that.
Perfect, sir. Thank you, Anand.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Tushar Manudhane from Motilal Oswal. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So just would like to understand the progress on the PLI scheme, please.
Okay. We have already sought some clarification from the government. Based on the outcome of that, I think we will decide the way forward. So we are all geared up for moving forward, but we wanted certain clarifications which we already sought from the government and the project agency.
So the financial outlay would start from, let's say, in FY22 or FY23 onwards?
So the financial outlay will start, it will start this financial year itself, depending on when we receive the clarification. If we receive the clarification, let's say, and if it is meeting our requirements, the investments can start in the current financial year itself.
Sorry to drag on this, but can you just elaborate on this clarification? Like, any major hurdle on starting this project?
The clarification is in terms of including certain products as part of that. If you take an example of penicillin G, we also wanted clarification on whether 6-APA should be part of that or not, because when we produce 6-APA, we need not necessarily isolate pen G. And also 7-ACA, along with that, I think we wanted D7-ACA, which is also like a migration which is happening as a starting material in cephalosporins.
Got you, sir. Thank you. That helps.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prakash from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. First question is on the US FDA update. If you could give us, we hear that inspections for one of your facilities have started. Is there an update, please?
Okay, Unit 1 was audited by US FDA for 9 days, and the audit got concluded yesterday. There was a 483 issued with 7 procedural observations, and we would be responding as per the prescribed timeline and go ahead and work with the agency towards moving forward.
And just to clarify, these are the foreign FDA inspectors or from the local agency?
This is a foreigner based out of the Delhi office.
Okay, got it. Thank you for this. And secondly, just picking up thoughts on the US pricing pressure that we are seeing. So Q and Q, there has been some pressure. So what is this pressure? I mean, what we are seeing on the market on a little, what is changing in the market? I mean, we've been growing single digit. We have a very strong portfolio, pipeline, launches are happening. So what are you reading on the market? What has really changed, or do you think this is more temporary?
Okay, Swami, I'll take this one.
Yeah.
I'll take this one. So, Prakash, basically, as Swami had explained earlier, our strong belief is that because of the pandemic, people have stocked more material than the need or the consumption. So, obviously, we see this as a time period or a phase where everybody has to liquidate the stock which they have built more than whatever is actually needed. We believe, and there are certain things which are happening currently may not be sustainable. I think so. What we are talking about is now the stock is not only with the seller, it is also with the distributor. Once these are offloaded, we expect the normalcy to settle in. And we always have maintained that a 5% erosion is something we also budget for. This time it has been more, as already explained by Swami. So this is a phase, in our opinion, should pass. We are not giving a specific timeline because we need to know how much stock is being held by everyone, how much time would it take to get liquidated. That is the reason we are not giving a specific timeline. Since we have enough engines for the future, after this phase is over, we are still confident about the growth.
So this year we still maintain we'll be able to see growth on the last year's base.
It depends on the stock liquidation, as I had explained, Prakash, because we don't want to give a general answer, yes, we are confident, because in case if the liquidation takes some more time, so that some more time will happen. As you are aware of it, that I think we still have a significant portion of our products, I think, which are competitive. As you know, that 60-65% of our portfolio is within the top 1, 2, or maximum 3 in terms of the 1, 2 ranking. So obviously, I think our story is intact. We are confident, as Swami had explained. I think the products are awaiting approvals and would be launched, and we are confident about the future. In this phase, we are not able to clearly say that how long this phase will sustain, but we are absolutely confident about the growth as we progress beyond this phase.
Understood. And one more on, the rationale or the thought process behind, so we already have a very, very strong pipeline of 174 products under different dosage forms. And we have gone and bought this, $100 million asset, which has some OTC and ANDA. So on an overall scheme of things, we are doing depot, we are doing complex injectables, we are working on biosimilars, vaccines. So these are much larger assets. So I'm just trying to understand the direction of buying such smaller assets, A, and B, also the veterinary piece coming in. So, I mean, what are we signaling, in terms of filling up the gaps? Do we see more such smaller assets going forward, or we focus on the larger assets which we are developing organically?
I think we are not talking about one against the other, Prakash. We are not talking that. Number one, as far as the ANDAs are concerned, they are absolutely complementary. See, today in the generic industry, let us be clear about one particular fact. At the time of filing, every product looks like a great product, and that's how every company, for every product, it is filed. But at the time of launch, you cannot predict, I think, how many players would be there, how much erosion would happen. And if you are getting an opportunity for a certain portfolio of products which is going to complement your existing portfolio, you should go for it. And that is a strategy which we have adapted in terms of getting those portfolio. Because tomorrow, I think these products also have enough opportunity for their own growth, and that was evaluated based on that. We went ahead with that. As far as the veterinary business is concerned, the one part is like you have to remember most of these APIs I think are also coming from our facility, and we clearly see this is a good business to be in. That's why we are going ahead with it. Doesn't mean that when we get into, let's say, newer portfolio or existing portfolio with dilute or we are focusing on veterinary, doesn't mean that we will.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay connected. The line of the management is disconnected. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for patiently holding line. We sincerely apologize for the disconnection which has happened. We have the management line reconnected back. Thank you, and over to you. Mr. Prakash, please go ahead with the question.
No, so I had a question regarding, the rationale of buying these smaller assets, and do we see more of such assets in the future to fill up the gaps, if any?
I don't think that we appoint a banker to go and chase anything, Prakash. As far as these smaller assets are concerned, the smaller opportunities are concerned, as we had articulated in the past about the capital allocation, we are very clear that we are not looking for any large ticket acquisition. But if there is an opportunistic, let's say, a set of ANDAs available and which can actually complement to our portfolio, then definitely we will look at that. Even in the future, if anything comes up, we'll look at that. Either in Europe or US, I think we'll definitely look at it. But I would also agree with the fact that we will not get such opportunities very many, because as we have a larger portfolio, only that makes sense, only we'll be looking at it, not that we'll be chasing it.
Okay, and last one for Subbu sir on the gross margin side. So one is US pricing pressure. The second I picked up is the ARV sales are down, but why gross margins have dropped? So is it function of raw material and lower sales, or there is more to it, and what is the outlook there, sir?
No, it is basically the change in the product mix now, because in US it's typically the average margin will be more than the company average margin, and if there is a drop in the sales, obviously the gross margin will get reduced.
So is there an outlook to this?
Having said that, we have worked and then ensured that overall as a company, the gross margin and the EBITDA margin is not affected.
Yeah, I mean, I could see significant cost controls, but question is on the gross margin outlook, sir. So how do we see this going forward, given the US pricing pressure is here to stay?
You're right, but I mean, at this stage, we need to see, as explained, we need to see on the price erosion and what are the impact. Probably our endeavor will always to ensure that we move towards 60. That is what we always have the standard at 58 and move towards 60. That's all. Because of the temporary nature, all this price erosion because of the COVID related and other things, we had a small setback, but let's see whether it is a one-off or we will come to know of it maybe down the line in 2 quarters.
Okay, perfect. Great. Thank you. All the best. I'll join back with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Chirag Dagli from DSP Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yes, so thank you for the opportunity. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Chirag, go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, are you seeing more players in your base products, the older generic products? And if you can just, broadly split pricing erosion between, what you see on the base and some of the larger products, which are slightly less competitive. Is there a marked difference in the high single-digit erosion between these 2 categories?
Okay. Swami, I'll answer this. As far as the price erosion is concerned, Chirag, it's not the question of new player entering. That is not the criteria. As you had mentioned, that is only possible for a few products, but the major criteria, as you have clearly said, is due to the stocking of all the players. Because when there is an opportunity, everybody thinks that this requirement is sustainable, and they always would like to have more material than what is needed. That the offloading of that stock is what we are seeing as a major reason. Second is, as you are aware of the fact that for us, any product we don't depend on very high level. I think you know that our top 25 products is approximately around 32% in terms of our exposure. So to that extent, that any single product, our dependence is never has been high, Chirag. You are aware of that.
On Chronos, what use? So if I heard this correctly, there is a primary infusion that your capital is going to go into the company. Correct? It's not like you're buying out. So point is, what is the use of that capital for Chronos? What are they going to do with that capital? And also, is there debt on the books of Chronos?
Yeah, it's a very beautiful question. I think this is the most relevant question. The money will be infused as a primary, and the checkbook will be with us only, right? And this money will be used to reduce the existing debt, which is a high cost debt, which will be reduced. And second, as we explained, we have to file another 45 products for which we need to pay the filing fees, and we need to generate the cost on account of exhibit batches, everything. And this will be totally used for the business purposes in achieving the 67 ANDA approvals.
So veterinary,
and plus they're not going to stop it here, and they will be trying to look at more R&D related work.
So veterinary ANDA, the filing, there is no ANDA fee. In the end, approval we require each ANDA.
Sorry, sir. What is this point, sir? I am not sure.
Veterinary ANDAs, unlike healthcare in the general one, we pay the money initially with the filing of ANDA. In veterinary, we have to, at the time of approval, we have to pay 500,000 each ANDA. We require some money there for this product. That's what Subbu is telling.
So these 6 products, also the filing fees the approval fees have not been paid.
Which one?
You said that there are 6 approvals that have already come through for this product or for this company. Those filing fees
Out of
plus
that, three this company has developed. 3 products is the labeling products. Labeling means they have taken somebody a veterinary label, healthcare product. They are selling these 6 products. These 3 products they already they own. They have developed their own, but in other units, and they filed. They got approved, and they have to yet to launch those. Out of the 2 products, main 2 products, they have to launch in next month onwards.
understood, sir. And
From the third-party units.
understood. And can you give the exact date as on date on this on the Kronos books?
I think must be around 160 or 165.
165 crores.
Yeah. Because they put the plans, the capital employed as on date, as on 30th June, the capital employed is $50 million.
Right. Of that, 165 crores is the debt, and the balance will be obviously equity.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Harith Ahmed from Spark Capital Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hi. Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity. You mentioned that there was a valuation that was done by PwC on Kronos Pharma. So, will you be able to share that with investors?
Now we need to take the consent. See, first of all, we need to take the consent of PwC. And second, whether we need to share it, etc., we have to go through the process, understand what are all the issues, etc. So that is the thing.
So I'm asking because there are several questions from, as you've noted on the call as well, regarding the valuation of Kronos. So it'll be useful if you can share this with investors.
But any investor they want, if they come to office, they can read it. But I don't know whether sharing Govind has to tell.
No, even for also PwC concern, we need to take it. But the simple logic which I like to present it is the 6 molecules which have been outsourced is already generating a revenue more than $13 million, even though the management is pretty confident and they were very excited about achieving more than 20. And they were talking about achieving more than, we want to be Aurobindo as a company, we want to be very cautious in telling the guidance or anything. But their management team is pretty excited in achieving more than $100 million in 3 years' time.
Okay. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the last question for today. We sincerely apologize for the bad connection quality.
Hello?
Yes, sir?
Yes. Are the participants there? I'd like to conclude.
Sure, sir. Please go ahead. The participants are connected.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone, again. I sincerely apologize for the pathetic quality of call today and wish we could do something about it. But if any of your questions remained unanswered, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll try my best to address them at the earliest. I thank you for your patience and kindness today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On behalf of Aurobindo Pharma Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your line.